Oh, good morning and good afternoon it is actually. And welcome back to Obie Acres channel. Haven't done a video in a while. There's a good reason for that. We've been busy and I have not been doing the greatest. I messed my back up. I've been laid up for several days. Since today's Wednesday the 10th. I've been laid up since the weekend. Ain't been doing a whole lot, just a little bit, and I just haven't had time to video. I finished spraying, all done spraying. I got some spot spraying to do, but crops look pretty good. We got 1.25 inches last night for that hurricane rains, I guess. So we're doing good on rainfall. Corn out here, I can show you that real quick. Then move on to the tractor segment. Corn's tousled out there. Got the corn head. I've had to move it in here because I had to move stuff around. I've replanted this one little field of beans that didn't come up very good. The rest of the beans all look fine. It's like a 3-acre field on the bottom that I had to replant. So I got this out. I figured I had some bearings, some idlers to replace, and check the oils and do. I might replace the knives. I got some knives. I have to order some more, but we'll work on that. But we're working on this. Worked on that grain bin. We got it tore down. That probably didn't help my back, but the boys did most of it. And it's all tore down, I gotta get ready to pour the concrete. I gotta go get the forms, and I haven't been able to do anything because of my back. But maybe tomorrow. It's feeling better, a little better today. It's just the mornings are really tough. Anyhow, hopefully I'm back at it again tomorrow. So anyhow, this is a segment I'm doing. It's Obie Acres tractors past and present. I should do a video of them running, but you've seen videos of them running. And it was a couple weeks ago when I did the first segment, but this is I think it's a 1967 Ford 5000 that my dad bought brand new. And my brother corrected me in my last video saying this is the only tractor bought brand new. It's not true. He did buy, it was an Oliver 550 with a loader he had, and I vaguely remember. I was little, my older brother remembers it well and tells the story about that. I think he had had an M. I don't remember if he bought that new, but he had the little International 464 diesel. I think he bought that new, or it was a demonstrator or something. And he sold that before I took over. Both of that, I think the farm he traded in on the Oliver or something. But he did buy that, the Oliver new. And my brother tells the story that the neighbors over there borrowed it so much. They loved it. He just told them, why don't you just buy it? So he sold it to him. He got tired of them borrowing it. And I remember the neighbors borrowing the 5000 a lot too. When my dad, remember him saying, they were all John Deere guys, and they made fun of him buying a Ford because Ford. That's right when Ford had all the issues with the 6000 Commanders and the Selecto Speeds, and they were making fun of him buying this. He said it was a piece of junk or whatever. Well, they borrowed it once, and they kept wanting to borrow it. They liked it so much, so. These weren't the tractor they thought it was. They'd always bring it back, and they just couldn't believe how fuel efficient it was, and power steering worked so nice and everything. They'd borrow it all the time. Several neighbors would borrow it back then. I was real little, I don't remember, but I think these are one of the greatest tractors ever made. Best tractor Ford ever made, probably. And Ford made a lot of nice tractors, in my opinion. Of course, I'm biased, but they did make the 8600s and 9600s. They sold a bunch of them around here because we had a big Ford dealer. They had 3 stores, and I was told they were one of the biggest Ford dealers in the country. They sold them. They go 3 states and sell them. They had a lot of 9600s sold, 8600s around here, but even the later ones, the TWs and the 9700s. They sold a lot of 5000s. I mean, these are everywhere around here. And they just run forever. I mean, I've never done anything to it. Never had anything done. I did place the water pump, I think, in the clutch. It's got over 6,000 hours on it. Now I don't use it as much as I did. We use it more in the loader. I use it the loader more than anything, and then we got the sickle bar on just because I was moving it out of the way. I'll use the sickle bar just a little bit along the ditches, but I don't use it much. And the 3-point hitch I use maybe on the box scraper. I used to run the auger exclusively. That's all I used to run the auger when I used to. But now since I put the leg up, I'm not using the auger no more. And this was a really nice auger tractor because you just started it right up. You didn't have to get on it. You know, as long as the high-low was in neutral, it would start right up. But even in cold weather, you had the 2 ways it would start. You push this button in. It's called the excess fuel button. You have to have the fuel pushed in. And that's a cold weather start. It shoots more fuel into the cylinders. There's the excess, that'll make it start. And also there's a glow plug. If you hold this key over for 30 seconds, that glow plug, there's an intake heater in there, and unless it gets really cold, it always starts up if you got a good battery in it. And then the PTO lever is right here, so you never have to get on the tractor. It was just really, I mean, I'd have it on I think one time I was using it on something else, so I put the 1135 on it, and that ain't bad. You don't have to get into that to turn the PTO on either. You can reach in the cab, and you gotta climb in to rev it up. And the TW20, you gotta climb in it to do that because you gotta push the clutch in, and you have to. The PTO lever's in behind, but this one here you don't have to do anything. It's really nice on an auger, and it would. They say it was very fuel efficient. Now you're using about all the horsepower. This is a 67 horse or 65 horse, naturally aspirated, and very fuel efficient. It'll run forever on 20 gallons of diesel. But we use it. We've been using it. We rake hay. Austin's making hay now, so we use it to rake hay and ted the hay, and rake the hay. And then we load the bales with it. With that loader. The only thing about these that I would say the 60s, and I think all the tractors of that era were light. That's when they really improved the tractors to the point where the 1960s, mid 60s, I should say, they all came out about the same time. 64, 65 is when all the manufacturers came out with their new models. The Fords came out with the 1000 series, the new engines. Deere come out with the 1000 series, like the 40,000s and 4020s, and the bigger ones. International had the 856s, and they were all big improvements over what they had before. And I don't think, other than hydraulics, there's not a big difference between these tractors and the brand new ones you buy. If you're talking about an open station, I mean, the engines are about the same. Now you get the new ones, the small ones I think probably still are just regular mechanical injection pumps, but you really be hard pressed to buy a new tractor this size and see a vast improvement other than the hydraulics. The Ford, their hydraulics are slow on this. They got plenty of pressure, where the newer ones, when they get in the 70s, then they kept upping the hydraulic flow a little bit every series, every year, every new models. But this hydraulic flow ain't terrible. I mean, it works great. So, but I don't think you can see there's not been a big jump in the tractors of this size in the last 50 years, in my opinion. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're better. There's some improvements on them, but what I'm trying to say is from the 50s to the 60s was the big improvement. After that, I don't think there is a huge improvement anymore, but I think this is one of the greatest tractors ever made. I'm biased. I'm sure I'll get all kinds of hate text, whatever, but I don't really care because I'll never get rid of this thing. and it's a workhorse. It's like that. We call it the Energizer Bunny. It just runs and runs and runs. So anyhow, this is this week's tractor on Obies Tractors past and present, and appreciate you viewing, and like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Thank you. A couple of things I want to add to the video. Some things I forgot. This number one, this 5,000 is old. Since it's an older one, the grills are different. The newer ones have a different grill. The later ones, I should say, is like the late 60s, early 70s. It does not have dual power. Some of the 5,000s do, very few. I haven't seen very many that do. I think it's just the later ones had dual power. It'd be nice if it did, but. And these are, I guess they call them a partially synchronized transmission. So you can go from reverse to second, which we do a lot with the loader, which is great in high or low. It works good in high from second to reverse. It's almost like a shuttle shift. Shifts real easy. And I will say, when we bought this tractor, this was our big tractor. I plowed with this when I was a little kid, or pulled, we had a irrigator and a little 10-foot disc, and I spent many hours working around. This was our big tractor till Dad bought a used Ford 8000, and well, that was big time when we got that. Had a crappy cab on it, but it was a lot bigger. But this did a lot. We did all the plowing, and moldboard plowed everything back then, of course, and worked ground. And then it was a workhorse. But when I say one of the greatest tractors of all time, you got to really categorize that, because what do you when you say that, what do you mean by that? Because I think it's one of the greatest, because they're very reliable and they run forever and they're fuel efficient, and they really broke through to be more like the modern tractor. They did a lot of innovative things that made them, that a lot of tractor manufacturers, they all kind of started at the same time, but the draft control of these are good. The 3-point hitches are phenomenal on them. Ford's always had a great 3-point hitch. They were the first ones to have it. The 3-point hitch is very infinite and works really good. They're comfortable to drive. I mean, and it has an oil bath air cleaner, and the way it starts, push the excessive fuel button for cold starting. There was a lot of good things about them. But you got to categorize that, because I'm going to say, as I do these videos, you're going to find, I'm going to think that I think a lot of my tractors, they all have different innovative things that nobody else had at the time. When I get to the Massey, which that'll be next, that has some neat things that a lot of people don't realize they have, that were very innovative and nobody else had back then. But it's got its shortcomings too. But well, there's two of my tractors I consider some of the greatest innovative and greatest tractors of all time. But I'll just leave it at that for now. But I just wanted to add that to the end. So, and I can say all the tractors in the 60s, I would say the 4020 is, everybody says, is one of the greatest. I don't understand why, but there's a reason why. I wanted to list reasons why I say this is, because they just run forever. They were built really well. So I like the controls, the throttle, everything's easy to get to and easy to operate. And I can't say that about a lot of tractors. And the shifter, the gear pattern, everything's so you can jump on it even if you've never run it before and run it real easy. So let me know what you think in the comments. And again, thanks for watching. Talk to you later. Gonna add one more thing to my video. Don't want to copy another channel. I won't call it that, but just keep thinking of things I wanted to say. One of my pet peeves when I watch farmer channels, I watch this one guy. His videos are really good. And I wish I could do what he does, but he's in a Wisconsin area with a lot of old dairy farms. He interviews older farmers, or farmers that had or still have agricultural dealerships, and they talk about the history of their dealerships or what tractors they had. I don't have that many old farmers around me. I guess I should maybe do that. But what irritates me though, not just him, but other people, one guy was talking about he had this International 856 or whatever it was, and how the front end got busted because his uncle or something was plowing, and the tractor kept rearing up on him. They're laughing about it, rearing up on him and coming down hard. And I'm thinking, and there's a lot of farmers out there like this back then. Why ain't you using your draft control? That's what draft control is for. You should, the front end should never rear up if you weren't using the draft control. That's what nobody needs it anymore because nobody plows anymore. But if you use the draft control correctly, the front end should stay flat on the ground. There's a cylinder on there that controls, if your tractor starts rearing up, the 3-point hitch pulls up, it keeps it level. And I can't believe the number of farmers that don't even know what that means. They've been farming for their whole life. And so what's that? Why you gotta use that? It's like, it just shows you the ignorance of people. Anyhow, that's all I wanted to say at the last. So thanks for watching again.